Hello everybody, I'm Grant Fluff from Fletcher Sports Zone. Oh, is this a pillow? Something I can scream in? Thank you, myself, for handing me this pillow, which I will now yell into really loudly. So, why are you upset, Grant? Oh, is it because the Bruins just fired Bruce Cassidy for literally no reason? That is an exact reason why I'm pissed off right now. I'm going to put it to you this way. I'm making this so clear. Before we get into details, we all know what happened. There was a power struggle between Don Sweeney and Bruce Cassidy, and Cam Neely had to choose. And he, like in most cases in sports, the head coach is going to lose over the GM, and that's exactly blatant what happened here. Cam Neely, Jeremy Jacobs, they chose the GM. The guy who's replaceable. Instead, they're trying to replace the guy that seems way less replaceable right now. It's so stupid. So last night at around 7 o'clock, I'm trying to enjoy my evening. Just finished watching Stranger Things Season 3. I hopped on my Xbox, was playing MLB The Show, and I get a notification that Bruce Cassidy has been fired. And it was the most ridiculous thing imaginable. So my first initial reaction was, really? Why would you do that? You're going to fire a coach who has had 6 consecutive seasons, has not missed the playoffs once since coaching this team, coming off a 51-win season, and you fire your head coach. Well, Don Sweeney said in his press conference today he didn't lose the locker room. You're going to fire a coach who's had 6 consecutive winning seasons. He didn't lose the locker room. Patrice Bergeron flat out admitted that none of the players knew it was coming. None of the players necessarily wanted Cassidy gone. You fired him because you lost a power struggle. We get it. Sweeney then answers a question, and he's like, listen, we need to build on our fourth line. We need more depth scoring. I'm going to put it to you this way. I know you want more depth scoring, and I will admit the third and fourth line for the Bruins at times last season was absolutely rough. But to blame that on the head coach entirely is pretty ridiculous, considering you're the GM and you're the one giving the coaches these players. The Nick Foligno contract on paper looks great. 2 years at $17 million. With a guy coming off his best season in, 2-3 years at that point when he got traded from Columbus to Toronto. That was a good signing when it first happened. Fortunately, this season, Nick Foligno, other than being a solid fourth line checker, he has done next to nothing. He has been terrible. David Krejci plays in Europe. The Bruins have no options here. They are like, we are going to sign Arcala and we're just going to bump Charlie Coyle up to the second line. Completely unprepared for a move that was projected to happen for months. Don Sweeney, I can even go way back when he was first with the team and he was against drafting guys like Tyler Seguin. And guess what happened? They traded Tyler Seguin right out of Boston the first chance he could for Louis Eriksson. This is a GM that has drafted not particularly well. Remember when Malcolm Subban was supposed to replace Tuukka Rask? Remember that. You want to know who's the goaltender who ended up replacing Tuukka Rask? Jeremy Swayman. Subban was drafted in the Claude Julien era. Swayman was drafted under the Bruce Cassidy era. One significantly better than the other. And one has been playing in the NHL for about 6 less seasons than the other. Bruce Cassidy, for the most part, has had to deal with Claude Julien's projects. Jacob Zaboral, Jake DeBrusk, Brendan Carlo. Matt Grzelcyk. He's done the most with those guys. He's done the most he can with those guys. Guys who were drafted down to the Cassidy era, guys like Swayman, Trent Frederick, Mark McLaughlin. They've done well. They've done well. They've done significant. Sure, they may not be game-changing players at this point, but they've done well. You're not even letting Cassidy get a chance to see how his players develop at the professional level if you're firing him this early. Patrice Bergeron, don't know if he's retiring or not. He might as well. Why? Why would he stay with the Bruins right now? With this incompetent management, the potential chance of going through the first ever rebuild since 2006, you're going to stay around? Why? You might as well try to sign elsewhere and win another cup and retire, or just retire. But don't worry. Don't worry. The Boston Bruins, we are going to re-sign Curtis Lazar to a one-year deal. What does that do? We're going to make sure that Charlie Coyle gets second-line minutes. Okay, we've seen how that's gone. That's gone terribly. We're going to put Craig Smith on the second line. Completely invisible the last 2 months of the season. Craig Smith was playing on the fourth line for most of last season, and it's just mind-boggling considering he had such a good 2020 playoff run. And we're going to fire a coach who had to deal with Brad Marchand playing through an injury, David Pastrnak playing through an injury, Patrice Bergeron playing through an injury, Hampus Lindholm playing through an injury, Charlie McAvoy playing through an injury, Brendan Carlo playing through an injury, Matt Grzelcyk playing through an injury, Linus Ullmark playing through an injury. Those are some pretty star-studded names playing through injury throughout the playoffs. Lost a hard-fought series to Carolina in 7 games. The series they were projected to lose in 5. They forced Game 7, and they lost by a goal. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. Again, Sweeney won the power struggle over GM and coach. And in most sports cases, especially in this one, that just sucks. Because why would the Bruins right now start a rebuild? Sure, the contending window may be closed, but let's be real. Even next year, with or without Cassidy next year, the Bruins are still going to be doing better than most of the teams in their division. They're going to be 4th again. They're going to be better than Buffalo. They're going to be better than Ottawa, Montreal, Detroit. They're going to be better than all of them, but they're going to be far behind Tampa Bay, Florida, and Toronto. I'm going to tell you that right now. They went from a lock in the pretty much a wild card spot, if not potentially 3rd place. Now they're going to be fighting the last wild card spot with the Islanders, the Blue Jackets, maybe the New Jersey Devils take a leap this year and they're in the wild card race. It's like you just went from being a solid playoff contending team for at least the next 1 to 2 years. They did it too quickly. If they're going to fire Cassidy, they should have probably done it after next year if the team really struggles. That's when they should have done it. Or if they started off the season terribly. Doing it right now makes absolutely no sense. I already know how this is going to go. The Bruins are going to end up hiring... I mean, people are saying Barry Trotz. Why? I mean, if you're going to hire Barry Trotz, you might as well have just kept Cassidy. Barry Trotz helps with depth scoring. Before this year, the Bruins never had trouble with depth scoring. They brought in guys like Marcus Johansson and Mike Riley, and they've done well in the depth scoring department. Thomas Nosek, he ended up being a solid signing out of nowhere. Eric Hall's done fine this year. It's a joke. It's a joke. It just comes down to GM picks the person he likes more, and that's what sucks. I just wish Cassidy had more of a chance to coach the players he drafted. Bruce, best of luck in your future. You are going to definitely find a coaching job somewhere. I think Cassidy's going to get hired by the Winnipeg Jets, and I think Winnipeg's going to do very well because it's a young team with a lot of depth. Kyle Connor just coming off the Lady Byng Trophy. I think that team's going to do well next year if they hire the right coach. And Bruce Cassidy is going to be the right coach for them. As for the Bruins, I mean, we're going to end up hiring someone like Chris Kelly, Mark Savard. I know this team. We're going to hire a former player, a coach from Providence. We're going to freaking move up Joe Sacco potentially, which I don't know why we would do that. We're going to get the assistant from the Kraken, who was the assistant coach for the Bruins for many years. I mean, who else is out there? Like Mike Yeo, Rick Bowness, John Tortorella. Do I really want those guys? No. Cassie's better than all of those. Even to a certain degree, I'd say he's better than Trotz because he's had recent success. Recent success bias. I would put Cassidy over Trotz. Terrible. Terrible. And, you know, the rebuild's underway, I think, personally. I mean, you sign Taylor Hall to a 3-year contract. You want to keep Jake DeBrusk long-term. You want to keep David Pastrnak long-term. You sign Hampus Lindholm to a 6-year contract. Why? Just so they can rebuild? You sign Linus Ullmark to a 3-year deal. Just to rebuild their first few years, their best years of their contracts, are now going to be on a rebuilding team? Is Brad Marchand gone? I think so. Is Bergeron retired? I think so. Is Xavier Krejci never coming back? I think so. A very good chance Charlie Coyle's your first-line center next year. God bless. You are not doing nothing. You are doing nothing. I mean, what are you going to do to fix this problem? Throw money at Johnny Gaudreau in free agency? Let's be real. No one's going to want to sign here. No one's going to want to sign here now. Cassidy was a great coach, a great leader. Probably some of the reason why a lot of big free agents over the past couple of years, like Foligno, ended up signing here. And then you sign these players to the extensions just for their best years of the deal to be thrown away in a rebuild? It doesn't make any sense. I mean, you can play the whole what-if game. The Bruins didn't make the Stanley Cup Finals in 2019. You could make the argument Cassidy could have been fired last year. If the Bruins won the Cup in 2019, you could be arguing he wouldn't have been fired for another couple of years after that Cup win, meaning he wouldn't have been fired this offseason. They probably would have waited. It's terrible. But, you know, what else is new? Bruins management, they picked favorites. Don Sweeney, clearly the favorite over Bruce Cassidy, and it's disappointing to see. Sweeney has not done much since they won the Cup in 2011, really 2013. I really felt like the Bruins management hasn't been too great. When they fired Claude Julien in 2016, that was the right time. The Bruins' contending window was slamming shut. The Bruins missed the playoffs the previous 2 years. You knew Julien's time in Boston was up, but with Cassidy, man, winning 51 games, forcing a Game 7 in a series you were projected to get destroyed in with a half-injured roster, and just to show the blatant disrespect to fire him. Again, not even missing the playoffs once in his tenure in 6 seasons. That's incredible. 6 straight seasons of making the playoffs, including the year he replaced Julien as the interim head coach, made the playoffs. Sure, they lost to Ottawa that year, and guess what they did? They made the second round 5 straight years. Streak broke this year with a goalie and Jeremy Swayman making his first ever playoff action. Kind of same thing with Linus Ullmark. Completely injured team. It's a joke. But don't worry, the Bruins will have Zdeno Chara sign a 1-day contract to retire with the team. It's a joke. I wouldn't even do that right now if I was Chara. Just signing a 1-day deal with the Islanders and retire, because Don Sweeney lost a lot of respect from me over the past 24 hours. Not that I was a big fan of him anyway, but this is blatant favoritism, and it really is frustrating. So I guess I'll be back whenever Bruce Cassidy gets signed to the Bruins announce their head coach. I think the Bruins are going to do Bruin things and hire Rick Bowness as their next head coach, which will result in more first-round eliminations and changes absolutely nothing. See you guys in the next video. Just terrible situation.